Hi, this is Charlie Schrader-Patton, and I'm going to give you a glimpse into PhenoMap, a weekly web application that delivers vegetation greenness across the lower 48 states. In the next few minutes, I'd like to cover how PhenoMap works and also what it is and what it isn't, help you decide if it's a tool that can help you with rangeland decisions. PhenoMap is a web-based mapping tool, meaning that there is no software to download or install, and it is available on PCs or mobile devices such as phones and tablets. It's open to all, no user authentication are required, no sign up is necessary, and it is updated every week of the year. And its current extent is the CONUS, the conterminous lower 48 US states. PhenoMap uses data from the MODIS sensor, which is on board the NASA Aqua satellite. And using these data, we calculate a index called the Normalized Differential Vegetation Index, which is a well-documented proxy for vegetation greenness. So for the purposes of this talk, let's just call it vegetation greenness or greenness. Well, the current NDVI is of little use to land managers until it's placed in context. And we do that by comparing the current vegetation greenness for the current week to historical values for the same week. So to illustrate how PhenoMap can be interpreted in a real world scenario, let's imagine Brian and Jackie are out checking out some pastures. In case you don't recognize them, Brian is on the left and Jackie is on the right. Jackie notices that it sure seems like this pasture is late in developing and that it typically has a lot more new grass coming up by this time. We'll hypothetically say it's the end of March. And she thinks that maybe we should delay turnout or perhaps reduce stocking on this particular piece of ground. Brian surmises that based on his recollection, it feels like that the phenological condition of the pasture is pretty normal. And so they decide to take a look and see what PhenoMap has to say. And Brian says that, wow, Jackie, you were really correct. This area is way behind. PhenoMap says that 75% of the past greenness observations for this very week are higher than we are right now. PhenoMap can also be used to monitor where range phenological development has been impacted by drought. Drought events are expected to increase in frequency and duration according to future climate models. However, their effects will vary both locally and regionally. Comanche National Grassland, along with most of the southern Great Plains, experienced an extreme drought event in 2011. But before we see what that looked like at PhenoMap, here's what a normal year looks like for the third week in June. Uh, this is for 2017. We can see that most of the landscape is either at historic averages for greenness, phenological development. In some areas are above that, above average as well. But when we start taking a look at the weeks in June in 2011, we can see that most of the area is at the 25% or less level of greenness, meaning that most of these areas are substantially below their historic average for that particular week. The conditions kind of continue through the second week in June, but by the third week in June, we can see that the eastern part of the national grasslands is starting to show some phenological development, starting to green up a little bit, whereas the western portion is still suppressed quite a bit, presumably due to the ongoing drought. That pattern kind of continues on through the last week in June. The take home here is that PhenoMap can eliminate regional differences in drought effects that may help managers prioritize both the movement of grazers and perhaps stocking levels. PhenoMap has several other map data services that are related to phenology, including quantitative estimates of precipitation for the past 24 hours, the past week, and the past 2 weeks. normal and departure of normal precipitation products. The weekly U.S. Drought Monitor, which undoubtedly most of you are familiar with, and Standard Precipitation Index are also presented in the map, as are accumulated growing degree day data from the National Phenology Network. There are many tools for rangelands that you're going to learn about at the symposium. So we think it's important to help you distinguish them and to learn a little bit about their pros and cons. Several tools make forecasts for production available, Grasscast and FuelCast, and the Rangeland Analysis Platform come to mind. PhenoMap does not do this. Rather, it provides a look at what is happening right now. The NDVI Greenness in PhenoMap is a key part of the recipe used in these other tools that forecast production. PhenoMap is more of a tactical tool that displays the variation in greenness, precipitation, and growing degree days across the landscape. This information can be used to help inform management decisions. We view PhenoMap as being sort of an extra set of eyes for rangeland managers. It's a big country. You can't be everywhere at once. This helps you track what's going on across the large landscape. Thanks very much, and please drop an email if you have any questions or suggestions for PhenoMap, and I look forward to the upcoming discussions. Thanks.